What is going on, everyone, and welcome back, our YouTube fishing family, to the channel. Today is part 3, the conclusion of our custom ice rod build, the first build we have ever done on this channel. So if you guys have not seen parts 1 or 2, make sure you go back, watch those, and then come rejoin for the conclusion of today's video. Today, we are going to be wrapping up, like I said. So what we really need to get done is we need to install the tip top onto the rod and get that thread wrap finished to match the rest of our guides. And then we are going to hook up our CRB dryer. By the end of this video, I'm probably going to have a couple different coats of the thread finish onto our guides, and we will have our first ever finished custom built ice fishing rod, which to me is really exciting. So there's still a couple things that I would like to do in the future. I've talked to you guys a little bit about. I would like to get some really high-end components and really take some time to build a really nice custom rod. But I believe that this was a great starting point and one of those entry points that really wasn't too scary price-wise. And if you mess something up, it's really not that big of a deal. So again, if you guys have not checked out those other videos, make sure you go watch those first. Otherwise, if you guys are new here, I hope you will consider subscribing. If you do like the DIY stuff like custom rod building or making your own soft plastic baits, pouring your own lead molds, making swim jigs, those kinds of things, I love it too. So hopefully you guys will consider subscribing. Otherwise, we have a lot of ice fishing videos coming up this winter. We are looking forward to traveling again, getting out there, and really kind of hitting it hard this winter, weather cooperating. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. We've got a little bit of work to do, and then we're gonna get this thing onto the drying system, and we're gonna be finishing up our very first ever custom rod here on the channel. I'm looking forward to it, so let's jump right in and finish this thing up. Thanks for watching. Okay, so we should be ready to go ahead and put the tip top, kind of that last, very top guide, onto our rod now that we have the other ones done and wrapped. Everything looks good, everything is aligned where we want it, so this will be kind of the last piece here. But I do need to get it on and essentially get it aligned. So just kind of a dry fit here, but should slide on. And obviously it's a little loose, that's where that glue is gonna come in handy. But we're gonna get it on, we're gonna get it aligned, and then we will do our last wraps of thread before we glue everything down with that thread wrap. So not a lot of components for this piece. Obviously we need the tip top itself, but there is a tip top adhesive. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use our little alcohol burner. Inside of here is just essentially isopropyl alcohol, and it puts off a nice flame that doesn't create a lot of smoke or anything like that. So let's go ahead and get this tip top adhesive open. And this is hopefully going to be pretty easy, because all we need to do is cut a very small piece of this off that will fit inside of our tip top. So we just need a small little sliver. We're going to shove that inside of there, warm it up, and then stick it onto the blank. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can kind of maybe tell there's a little bit of that glue sticking out of there. But I got a nice piece shoved in there about as far as it'll go. So the next step should be to go ahead and light our alcohol burner. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use pliers for this. I'm not holding it very tight, so I shouldn't scratch much of anything. But I'm gonna go ahead and warm this up until that glue melts. And then we're gonna put it onto the blank, give it a full 360-degree turn, get that glue worked around, and we should be good to go. So let's get this warmed up here. That melts pretty quickly. Yeah, it's smoking out the end, so I think we're okay. Can I get that little dab off? There we go. Go ahead and put it on. Give it a little spin here. Get it lined up. Put that out before I burn myself. And let's give that a quick visual inspection. Look right down. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. It is now glued on and in line with that inside curve of our spine with the rest of the guides. So I'm gonna go ahead and scoot this down, give it a little bit of a thread wrap to match the rest, and we will be ready to start putting on the thread finish, doing our first coat at least, tossing this thing on the dryer, and seeing how this thing turns out as we kind of finish up the rod here. All right, well, the tip top is now done. We got it glued on, it is lined up, and I did the same thread wrap as the rest of the guide. So it does go from that white to the light blue to a darker blue. So I did nearly go all the way up to where that eyelet kind of starts to open out of that V shape there. But I wanted to make sure that it was really on there nice and good, and once we get this thread finish or this epoxy on there, that it dries nice. And again, I think just kind of that same thread finish makes the tip of it look kind of like the rest. That I think it looks good. So I think we are ready to go ahead and start putting the thread finish on all of the guides and get that first coat on and get this thing drying. But I'm going to move you guys down real quick and show you what I did with that hook holder as well. But I did bump that thread all the way up to that winding check. So again, when we get this thread finish on there, we should get a nice seal all the way up against that winding check. But I think it turned out pretty well. So if we kind of give that whole rod an overview real quick, you know, that pattern just kind of carries on through the whole thing. And I think it's looking really good. Again, even with that green tip on that carbon blank, I think these colors match pretty well. So I'm excited to see what they look like once the thread finish is on and dried, but hopefully it'll look good. I have now installed the rod into the drying system, which is just a little rubber gasket you just push the rod handle into, not a big deal at all. And the CRB system, you just plug it in, and then there's just an on or off switch that sits here, and when you turn it on, it'll obviously start rotating that rod. And I believe it said it does 9 rotations per minute, and this will just help even out this epoxy coating that we're about to put on here. So that is what we need to do, is go ahead and mix up this epoxy. And this is the Pro Coat, and it comes in this little package like this. And I believe the suggested starting amount was around 3 milliliters. So I'm gonna grab a couple little things here. First we need is one of the little cups to mix everything in. We will need a paintbrush. So there's one of the little paintbrushes that it comes with, and a stir stick, as well as the 2 syringes. Okay, I also have our alcohol burner. Again, that is just denatured alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, something that burns clean, doesn't leave a soot, anything like that. And I do have a pair of gloves. Do we need anything else? Probably not. I'm not worried about dropping epoxy or anything on the table. That's all fine. So I think we should be good. Okay, as far as these syringes go, the ones in the kit, again, they do come with just little syringes instead of little bottles or jars of this stuff. There is 12 milliliters of each in here, and it says mix up about 3 at a time. So really you'll get about 4 uses out of these, give or take. But I do intend to do a couple coats to make sure that this looks nice and the way that I want it. There we go. Woo, almost threw that cap. Put the cap back on, set that over to the side. And our second part, this is the part B, this is the hardener. Down to 9, 3 milliliters. Get the cap back on that, set it off to the side, and then just take that stir stick and stir it, make sure you get Everything nice and mixed up. Try not to put too many air bubbles or anything into it, but that is why we do have that alcohol burner, is to help with any air bubbles and help with the leveling of this epoxy. All right, well, I did bring you guys in for a little bit of a closer view here. I'll probably do a couple of these on camera, then I'll finish up the rest of these before we apply some heat. But in essence, I've got our epoxy mixed up, I've got my paintbrush, and all we are going to do is click this thing on, get it to start turning, and then I'm going to let that really kind of do the work for us. So I'm really just going to be setting the paintbrush onto the thread area and letting it kind of just pull off that epoxy. Just kind of letting it work itself on, getting a good rotation all the way around, and then sliding up that guide just a little bit. All right, now before I move on, let's go ahead and flash a little bit of heat on this. Get that lit. Let it settle down for a second. There we go. And we're just going to flash a little bit of heat on it. To help level it out. You can kind of see it start to drip down a little bit. That's all we're looking for. Just let it warm up. Use that paintbrush. We can pull off some of that excess too. All right, and just like that, we are now on a waiting game. So I've got all of the guides with their initial coat of our thread epoxy and went ahead and flashed them all with the heat so that it could help level it out. And it seems like it really kind of helps those threads soak it up to just getting it to be a little bit more watery than it kind of starts out as. So I think what it's going to end up doing is, since it'll help kind of soak it up and get the excess off, our next coat is really what's going to kind of help even everything out and really put a nice shine on it. So this needs to dry for a full 24 hours, and I'm going to let it do that before I even put on the next coat. We're going to go ahead and let this thing dry, and then we'll put on the second coat. But it's a good time to remind you guys as well, if you haven't yet, make sure you follow us on social media, Instagram and Snapchat. Instagram is really just the platform where we post the greater majority of all of our photos, whether it's through our actual posts or our Instagram stories. Make sure you guys give that a follow. That'll keep you in touch with everything that we're doing. And if you do want to get into contact with me, that is where we utilize Snapchat. So we actually utilize it kind of like a texting. So you can get a hold of me, but I do post stories and stuff on there as well. So make sure you guys go follow our new social media. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. And I will see you guys in 24 hours, which will be about 2 seconds for you guys. All right, everybody. I think we are done. This turned out really well. We are finishing up the drying process, but you guys can kind of see that second coat really made a difference here. And that's how many coats I did. I just did the 2. The first one, we kind of saw it looked like it really kind of sucked up into the thread and stuff. But that second coat really kind of evened this thing out and made those guides and stuff look really nice. So even all the way down here to that tip top. Hopefully that's coming through the camera all right. And one of the things I am going to try to zoom in here on is, if you can see it, you can tell that white thread is no longer white. It is a dark gray color. So that might be the one kind of disappointing part of this, is that the white did not show through. I do like that color combination of the white and like that ice blue. And when we put that first coat on and it started to change colors, I was really disappointed, but I'm kind of hoping that's coming through the camera okay. It really ended up like this dark gray. So it doesn't match the carbon blank. It is definitely a little bit lighter than that. But it's like this charcoal gray slash silver that I really kind of like now. I was pretty disappointed when it started to change colors from that white, which I guess here you go. Here's your comparison. So underneath that hook holder, or on the two ends, it was supposed to be this white thread. And so you guys can hopefully kind of see the difference in the color there. But I don't hate it. So I'm glad I didn't throw this thread away in a fit of rage, because now that I know what it looks like once it's sealed, I do kind of enjoy it. But I think we are good to go ahead and turn off this dryer, and for the first time, pull our brand new ice rod out. All right. Oh yeah. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Well, our new adventure is complete, and I'm not going to say it's a work of art, but I'm pretty proud of it. I'm not going to lie to you guys. So, once again, from just having this little bit of downtime here at the end of our open water season to the transition into ice for us, you know, those are the opportunities that I really try to find for myself, to kind of find something new, or to explore or do something. And, you know, I've got a lot of boat work that needs done, and we're gearing up for the Bass Nation Opens and that sort of thing here starting in January. But these little moments in time where you can kind of advance your own skills, your own knowledge around something, create something, I live for that. I thrive for those moments. So this to me, while very, very beginner, very intro, is still really cool. So that is something that I would like to convey to you guys. If you have thought about doing this and you can afford to go out, maybe buy a kit or just even a blank or something of that nature, you don't have to have all of this fancy stuff. The dryer, I would say, is the must-have. You should have the dryer, something that can turn the rod and level out that that thread finish. To me, that's kind of like the piece that I would say you have to have. The thread wrapping station, you don't need all of that stuff. The first one that I ever did, the first custom rod that I ever did, even in that 2-day class, he was out of wrapping station, so I used literally cut out cardboard. We cut out cardboard and put them up as like a pyramid, and put a couple of them so I could lay the rod across, and threaded it that way with just a bobbin. So that, you know, you can spend as much as you want on this stuff, but there's entry points too that you can kind of make your own way, pave your own path for it, and get some of that experience, some of that knowledge, and do something fun. And I tell you guys what, I'm pretty happy with this. This rod is a little bit shorter than I would typically like to have, but just as a little hole hopper, you know, even set up in the ice shack, it's pretty short. That'd be fine. For some bluegill, some crappie, maybe some light walleye. Again, this is a 28-inch ultralight, but it was made by hand. I made it, and I love that. So I know that while the components themselves might not be of the highest quality, the time that I put into it, the patience that I put into it, I have the utmost confidence in what I was able to contribute to this project. So I know that the cork was reamed right. I know that the arbors and the reel seat are really, really good, that we had a real tight fit. So these components are going to do really well. And then the guides, I know they're in the correct spine alignment, and that they were wrapped to my liking, and that the thread finish was put on, and I think it looks good. You know, there's definitely a couple areas that I can look at and go, hey, I want to try this next time, maybe make it a little bit better, make it look a little bit nicer. But overall, it's one of those things that I'm happy with, and this is going to be a learning process. So, there's a lot to learn about how to get the finish around the guides. I definitely want to look at making a bait caster at some point in time for myself too, for open water season and getting some better guides. But this is fun. And you know what? It just makes me want to go buy another blank. So I think I'm going to be looking for a high-end ice fishing blank. We're going to get some really cool components like the recoil guides and stuff like that, and maybe some cool cork. I think I can use my connections to find some really cool cork to put in here. And I'm not always the biggest fan of the reel seats on ice fishing rods. I kind of like to just use the bands to put my reels on, just a full piece of cork or even a split grip. So there's some things that we can mess around with there, but I still have 2 more blanks that came in this kit, and I know my son wants to pick out some thread so that he can make his own, obviously with some help, but he's going to select out some colors, and we're going to do this process again with him. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and this little 3-episode series on building your own custom ice fishing rods. All of these skills transfer over to open water as well. So it's not just an ice fishing rod thing. You can do this. You can do it open water, spinning, bait casting, whatever you want to do. You can go out there and do it. And it takes some time. And, I put some hours into this, but it's not as scary as I thought it was initially at first. And to order something that kind of came with all of the components, again, entry level, really wasn't that bad. It was like $200, $190 on sale. There's coupons that are always running around. I think I had a 10% off coupon, which is kind of why I bought the kit the way it was. But there's a lot of art to this. But you can do it. I can do it. If I can do it, you guys can do it too. So I don't always have the utmost patience for some of the small things. I just want to get out there and fish too. But I love this process. And to have this in my hands and go, you know what, this one's mine, that's pretty cool. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. If you guys have been here for a while now, you know how much I appreciate you guys. This channel wouldn't be what it is without you guys participating and leaving me comments, hitting us up on social media, all of that great stuff. We have a lot of videos coming out for ice fishing. We are going to be traveling once again, and I'm so ready for that. I'm just itching to get out there and on the water. But if you guys did like this video or this video series, let me know. I can always make another one. We'll get some, like I said, we'll get some higher end components and maybe spend a little bit more time doing this. Otherwise, if you guys are here and you like seeing some soft plastic mold making, some lead jigs, swim baits, all kinds of stuff like that, you guys have found the right channel. So hit that subscribe button. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.